Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. So my name is Debbie, and today's video is going to be 5 mistakes people make when they are trying to pay off their debt. So before we get into that part of the video, I'm just going to introduce myself as well as leave my little disclaimer as well. So my name is Debbie and I'm passionate about money. I'm passionate about managing it, increasing it, building wealth, and I have spent pretty much my whole adult life trying to discover the secrets about, making money and, keeping it, investing it, and I'm still on that journey anyways. I don't feel like I know everything, so I'm still learning every day, and I just wanted to share all my knowledge and experience with you guys here on YouTube. So my little disclaimer is, even though I work in finance, I studied of course related to finance, I am not a financial advisor yet, and these advice are just based on my own knowledge that are readily available out there and my personal experience. So let's get into the video. So the first mistake people make when they're trying to pay off their debt is to forget and skip the emergency fund. Now, if you're a big fan of Dave Ramsey, or if you know anything about personal finance management, you know the 7 baby steps. One of the first things in the 7 baby step is to save an emergency fund. And the reason for this is that a lot of people get into something I like to call the debt cycle, which is where they're in debt to try to pay off the debt. However, they have unexpected expenses crop up, which usually happens. Like, it's just life. It's not if you have an emergency, it's when you have an emergency. So they get that happen because they don't have an emergency fund, because they're living paycheck to paycheck. The first thing they will do is probably take out more debt to deal with this emergency. But once they do that, they end up back into debt, in more debt, which they now have to pay off. And then while they're paying that off, that kind of happens, and it's a debt cycle. And the best way to break this debt cycle is to save an emergency fund. And a lot of people ask me, Deb, how am I going to save an emergency fund when I'm in debt, or when I have bills to pay and things like that? One thing I would say is the best way to do this if you are in debt is actually to pay the minimum on all of your debt, right, that you own. Save up that emergency fund as fast and as quick as you can, obviously without having to borrow money or anything like that. This is not so with your emergency fund, it doesn't sit in your savings account. This will sit in your current account, or at least an account that's easy to access, so that when you do need it, it's not taking you days or months or whatever to get. It's money that you could quickly access. Once you have that $1,000, and then the recommended is usually $1,000 or £1,000. Once you have that, you can continue paying your debts, because this is the thing, most emergencies won't cost you more than £1,000 anyways. Even when your boiler breaks is around £1,000, so probably more than £1,000. But at least if you have already £1,000 of a boiler that costs 1,500, now all you need to do is find 500. So in that sense, like £1,000 is recommended. So that's one mistake I feel like most people who are paying off debt don't do. They don't have an emergency fund, and you need that, because as much as you want to pay off the debt, you don't want to get into a debt cycle. So that's the first mistake people make. The second mistake people make is it's very similar to the first one, but it's trying to save and pay off your debt at the same time. It almost seems like you're dedicated 50% to paying off your debt, now 50% and to savings, which on the outer and to the logical brain, it seems, yeah, logical, why wouldn't I do that? But in a long-term sense, it doesn't make any sense. Always, if you're taking into account interest, so majority of the time the interest you're paying on your debt will be 500 times higher than the interest you're getting paid when you're saving. So on a longer period, so if you're only spending about 50%, allocated about 50% to the debt you're paying off, that would take you a longer time to pay off, and in that long term you're paying more interest to the lenders than the interest that the bank is giving you on savings. So it's probably better off in the long term for you to pay off your debt first and start saving. This is outside your emergency fund, so you still need your emergency fund anyways. So the best thing would be for you to pay off, clear off any debt, then start saving like there's no tomorrow. But if you're trying to do the same, you're losing a lot in, like, you're paying a lot more in interest, because the banks ain't paying that much for you to save your money, and so you might as well focus on that money on debt. Now this one is quite a controversial opinion, so if anyone feels different on this particular one, please leave a comment down below. I'd like to see your opinion on that. But this is a kind of a controversial opinion, because people are like, well, I need to save but which is true, but also you also need to clear off your debt. But yeah, it's a controversial opinion, but that's my opinion on the subject. And I think that's one of the mistakes I made myself, because I ended up paying a lot more in interest. I ended up being in debt for longer, simply because I was trying to save and pay off debt at the same time. Okay, so the third one, which I can personally relate to, is not budgeting realistically. So I will let you know this year, since the day I started working, I started budgeting, and since then, like when I started working, I was budgeting, I didn't pay off my debt, I got into more debt, and I just, like, it just didn't work. And the reason was because I didn't budget realistically. So I found that with my budget, I was always on time for bills, so I was getting my bills paid on time. But a lot of, and you have to figure out why you personally are in debt. A lot of my debt actually has to do with just leisure, just using credit cards for leisure, because I didn't write that into my budget. So you have to budget realistically when you're paying debt, especially if you're paying debt for a long time, because in that period when you're paying debt, you still have to live. So if you've got debt that you could pay in 5 months, that makes sense. If you've got debt that you could pay in 8 months, you could sacrifice 8 months and then just focus on paying debt. But if you've got debt that you're gonna pay for a long period of time, then you have to budget realistically. So things such as entertainment, socializing, clothes, all these things need to be in your budget, because these are things that you actually need. And until recently, I never used to add my toiletries into budget. I never used to add my skincare, makeup, things that are really important to me, my hair. Like, because I didn't add those into my budget, and I was budgeting so strictly, but then I was doing whatever I wanted with my money, then it still didn't make any difference. I still was going over the budget because I wasn't budgeting realistically. So now, if I know that I've only got £100 to spend, let's say for the month, like socializing and things like that, I won't keep saying yes to everyone when they ask me to come out. I will choose the places I will go to wisely, and then maybe go to the next places next month, if that makes sense. Like, you have to budget realistically. You have to take your lifestyle and the quality of the kind of lifestyle you want to live into your budget. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I need to budget, and that's the mistake and the trap that most people fall into, because they feel like a budget is a restriction when it's not. It is for you to know where your money is going to and control your money. That's the point of a budget. If you don't have a budget, you just spend your money on anything. So the point of a budget is for you to be able to control the money, ensure that the money is going to the right place, and then you're not overspending certain areas. For example, if you had a budget on your clothes, you probably won't buy clothes that will sit in your closet for like 2 years before you throw it out, and then it's still got the tag in it. You have to buy something that you know that you're gonna wear again and again and again and again. So that is why it's good to budget realistically, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make, not just when they're paying off debt, but just in general. So that is number 3. Okay, so the 4th mistake is people don't organize their they don't organize how they're going to pay the debt, or they don't plan how they're actually going to pay the debt. So when I say organize or plan, I mean the method of paying off the debt. Now if you have just one debt to pay, you're good. So if you only have like maybe one credit card, that's good. But statistics shows that a lot of us don't just have one debt. A lot of us who are in debt anyways don't just have one. So this is taking us out, not taking into account your mortgage obviously, but let's say credit card debt, car loans, whatever, payday loans. I don't think anyone really do payday loans anymore, but you'd be surprised. But maybe electrical finances, or you know, all those things. Now if you have all those different types of debt to pay, then it's not wise for you to just chuck money at one and the other. It just kind of gets messy, and a lot of the time people get into more debt because they don't really have a methodology to pay off their debt. So there are 2 methodologies that I will mention in this video. Those are not the only type of methodologies, but these are the 2 most popular ones. So the first is the debt snowball, and the second one is the avalanche method. So the debt snowball is when you arrange all your debt from biggest to smallest. You pay off the minimum on all your debts, and then you throw any extra money on the smallest debt. What you want to do is that you want to pay off the smallest debt as quickly as possible, or you know, as fast as you can do, and then once that one is fully paid off, you move on to the next one. Now the avalanche method is where you arrange your debt by interest rates. So you arrange it, but you don't arrange it from the smallest to the biggest. So you arrange it by the largest interest rate to the smallest interest rate, and then you make the payment on the largest interest rate. And the reason you make the payment on the largest interest rate is because you want to pay less interest rate over time. So for example, if you had a credit card with the interest rate of, I don't know, 34%, now over a long period you're going to pay a lot more in interest rate, and it's going to take you a longer time to clear. So if you focus all your energy and everything, you know, all your money on the first one with the highest interest rate, what that means is that you get that paid off quicker, and then you would have reduced your overall interest rate that you pay over time. So those are the 2 methods. Now one is about you paying less in terms of interest rate, and more about obviously just you being financially smart about it, which is the avalanche method. And the other one, the snowball, is about encouraging you to keep going so that you fully pay off those debts. Now out of the 2 methods, the one I've used is the debt snowball method, and I'll tell you that one actually rocks, because the feeling you get when you've paid off the first one, it makes you so addicted to pay off the next one and the next one again. I was lucky in the sense that I only had 3, and I'm on my last one as well. So it's just, I'm so eager to get that excitement. So that's one of the things why a lot of people prefer debt snowball, because it just encourages you to keep going, and you're not actually taking into account how much you are paying on interest rate. Because I did find out that with one of the I had like a credit card debt that was on a 0% because I balance transferred it, and I still had to pay the other debt, which was an overdraft, which had more in interest rate. So I found out with the overdraft that had the highest interest rate, but it's still the lowest balance, so it's just easy to clear that off. anyway, so it still kind of worked in my favor. So I could kind of say it was an avalanche method. Either way, whether you're going to use the snowball method or the avalanche method, you need to choose a good method that suits you and suits, you know, your kind of personality as well. So if you're that person who's not disciplined enough, then the debt snowball method might be the one for you, because it just encourages you to keep going with the debt. But it's always good to have a plan, because it makes you feel organized with your finances, which helps you keep up to date with all of them, because you just get excited just knowing and seeing them disappear, unlike if you're just paying them randomly. But yeah, that's a mistake that I feel like a lot of people make as well when they're trying to pay off debt, not just having a method for them. Now the fifth mistake is my favorite, because this is something I feel like a lot of people do, and this is what keeps them in debt for longer. The fifth mistake, if I could speak properly, is that people who are in debt refuse to get expert help. Now, I couldn't really find a statistic for this, but in my opinion, I feel like a lot of people are ashamed about being in debt, and a lot of people, and for that reason, they don't really get the help they need to get out of debt. And in the UK, there are a lot of organizations you can go to in terms of advice, and usually they're free advice on debt. You know, even I think there's some organizations where they could help you clear the debt and things like that. I'd have to do more research on that one and probably post it in another video. But the ones I am familiar of is Step Change. You could go to Citizens Advice Bureau. You could also go to your bank as well, which a lot of people don't do, especially if you have a credit card as well. If you call your bank and if things get really tight, you could be put on a payment holiday. And I know payment holidays right now have got in there, you know, has gotten famous because of the COVID, but it was always available even before COVID, because I was on one. So last year I didn't have a job and I couldn't pay off my credit card, and I was struggling to pay it off. Can you imagine? I was paying off the minimum when I could have just gone on a payment holiday, and I think I went on a payment holiday for 2 months, and in between that payment and holiday I ended up getting a job anyway, so that's quite good. And I don't think they charged me interest for it, and this was Barclaycard, and they were very good, they were very understanding as well, and they do look at your track record. So obviously if you're, you know, if you're a customer who always makes their payments on time, you know, they will say that to make you feel good. Not like if you weren't, they wouldn't give you a payment holiday, but you know, they'll make you feel good, because I really appreciated what they did. But a lot of banks offer this, you know, they'll give you payment holidays if you're struggling. You know, there is support out there, and a lot of people don't take the support because they feel ashamed or things like that. But one thing I always tell people is that people who work in finance are very terrible with their money anyways. So you're probably dealing with someone on the phone who's probably going through the same thing as you are. Forget how their tone is, they've probably been in your situation before. So do not be afraid to get expert help. And I'm not even talking about full-blown financial advisor, I'm talking about you just going, there's so many free charities out there that can help with debt and things like that, and there's so many free charities out there that will actually help you in terms of managing your money and things like that. I'm gonna leave my favorite down below, and then hopefully if anyone's struggling with debt or anything, they could look into that and get help from that. So I'm afraid we've come to the end of the video. It's been very difficult for me to film because my room right now is boiling, and I can't turn on my fan because you guys won't be able to hear me properly. So I'm just happy that I've gotten this video done, and I hope you like this video. I am gonna post another video and another video and another video so that you guys can get the help that you need. And please like, comment, subscribe, and do all the good stuff. And if you know anyone who's struggling with debt or anything like that, please link them to this video. Hopefully I'll be able to help. But yep, I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.